Most people put up a barrier. Wait a minute, I don't want anything, I don't need anything. Walk into a store and they ask you what you want, so I'm just looking when you went to the store to actually buy something. So those barriers are high. So if you can find something to connect with that person on. Someone told me once, if you can connect with people personally and professionally first, that makes all the difference. And sales tools today can really help you with LinkedIn and other tools to find out about something that can maybe find a common ground where you can connect with that person. Until they trust you, until they believe you're there for them, they're probably not going to answer your questions in an honest way. But until you connect with them and cause them to really want to talk to you, probably not going to get answers or the honest answers.
What's next for Integrity Selling? Are there any innovations, events, or thought leadership projects Integrity and you are working on that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, we've got so many exciting things going on.
You are listening to the Best Sellers Podcast, presented by Doug Dvorak, where the focus is elevating your sales game. The Best Sellers Podcast, your ultimate destination for winning sales strategies.
Welcome to the Best Sellers Podcast, where elite performers, visionary thinkers, and high-impact leaders pull back the curtain on what it really takes to drive success in sales and in life. I'm your host, Doug Dvorak, founder and managing principal of the Sales Coaching Institute. This podcast goes beyond the script. We're driving into real conversations with best-selling authors, Mike Esterday right here, powerhouse entrepreneurs, C-suite executives, and industry disruptors who don't just talk about sales success, they live it. Each episode is packed with unfiltered insights, actionable strategies, and a few laughs along the way. Whether you're leading a sales team, closing your next big deal, or leveling up your leadership, this podcast is your ultimate playbook. Because here on The Best Sellers, we don't just celebrate the wins, we unpack the how behind the hustle. So buckle up. Your next breakthrough starts now. We're here with Mike Esterday, a longtime friend and just awesome individual committed to sales excellence training. Mike, good to see you. Thanks for being on the Best Sellers podcast.
Well, thank you, Doug. It's a pleasure always to be with you and looking forward to our conversation.
Thanks. So Mike discovered his talent for sales when he ranked number one out of 6,000 sales professionals in his first sales role, and then recruited and managed hundreds of salespeople. For over 40 years, Mike has been a sought-after speaker, author, and leader in sales training and performance improvement. After 13 years as CEO of Integrity Solutions, Mike now serves as their vice chair, a past board member of ISA, the Global Association of Learning Providers. He's a regular contributor to Forbes Business Council and top sales magazines worldwide. He is also the co-author of his new book called Listen to Sell: How Your Mindset, Skill Set, and Human Connections Unlock Sales Performance. Mike lives in Nashville, Tennessee with his wife, Terry, and they have 3 grown children. Excellent to be with you here, Mike. Our topic today, Selling with Integrity with Mike Esterday on value-driven sales success. So, Mike, you've had a long and storied and influential career in sales leadership. What originally drew you to the sales profession?
That's a great question. You talked about my first sales job. Actually, my first sales job was probably 8 or 9 years old. I grew up on a farm in northern Illinois, and my grandmother taught me how to make hot pads. And I wove these hot pads and I went door to door and sold those for like $1 or $2 a piece. And I think back, I always enjoyed interacting with people and seeing the smile on their face when they bought something that was, going to serve a need for them or solve a problem. So I guess that's how it got started. Then I sold books door to door in college with the Southwestern Company, based here in Nashville. And that's a company that's been around since the 1850s. And that was just fun, going door to door, helping families educate their kids and just have something that's really positive to do, day to day. So it's been a long-term, fun type of thing to do. Sales can be challenging, but I've also enjoyed it over the years.
So, Mike, I've known you for close to 20 years. I never knew you grew up in northern Illinois. Where in northern Illinois? Because I'm from Chicago and then, the northwest suburbs, Palatine. Where in northern Illinois? DeKalb?
Now, my mother went to school there, actually, at DeKalb, but about 2 hours west of Chicago, a little bitty crossroads called Ohio, Illinois, between Dixon and Princeton, if you know those towns. And Ohio, Illinois was 500 people in 1890, and it's still 500 people. So it's not a high growth area by any means.
Interesting. So you sold books door to door in college, and today with AI and CRM and social media, you didn't have 100 qualified leads every week when you started. You had to go generate your own. This was door to door B2C selling, right? It was tough.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're put in a city, not at home, but you'd go to a different state and live there all summer and become part of the community and get to know the people, go to door and find out who's related to whom and who went to church with whom and who worked together. And it was really, really an eye-opening experience as an 18-year-old in college. And then I did it for 5 summers and managed, hundreds of students after that. I was with the company for about 10 years.
Excellent. So, Mike, can you give us a snapshot of Integrity Selling Solutions? What makes your framework unique compared to traditional sales training methods?
Well, Integrity Solutions was actually founded way back in 1968 by Ron Willingham. And he was just really frustrated with people that would call on him because he could tell they were just product focused, trying to do something for themselves, trying to push something on him. He said, there's got to be a better way. So he was one of the founders of really customer needs focused selling. And in the early 80s came out with a program called The Bestseller, like your podcast, which later became Integrity Selling. And what's really unique about us is a couple things. You can find hundreds of good sales training programs around the world, but most of them only deal with skill set. And we believe that a huge, huge part of sales success is mindset, what you believe you can achieve, the sense of passion you have for helping people. So I believe that we cover the mindset better than anybody else, in addition to strong skill set. Number 2 is that most workshops, unfortunately, don't work because you leave a workshop with good intention. And I'm guilty. I've been doing a lot of things over my career that, I needed this, I wanted it, I had a good facilitator, left with good knowledge, good intentions, got back to my office and gosh, I had emails and things to do. And before you know it, it's something sitting on a shelf with dust on it. So Integrity Solutions always has a structured follow-up after a workshop. So for 6 to 8 weeks, people are accountable to do certain things, put it into practice to actually change their behavior. And then we overlay managers coaching. So managers learn how to coach it, support it, model it. So it becomes more of a cultural shift instead of just a sales training program. We involve marketing to build sales aids, teach them how to hire people more effectively. So it's a broader, more effective process than just going to a workshop.
Absolutely. And I was consulting a few years ago with a company that was in the clean energy space. And I was their interim fractional VP of sales, and we brought in Integrity Selling to work with our global sales team. And it was just heads and shoulders above the competition. There's some great other programs, but for me, my go-to is Integrity. So Mike, Integrity Selling emphasizes values-based selling. What core values do you believe every sales professional must embody today?
Well, we actually started out our program talking about integrity selling values and ethics. I believe that most salespeople today, actually most customers today, can tell whether a salesperson is there for them or just trying to push something on them. So they can. I grew up on this farm, as I mentioned, and I think one of my theories is, Dad said, get in that hog pen. Those hogs can tell whether you're scared of them or not. So you can come through, being confident, but you can also come through with commission breath, where people can sense that you're trying to just sell them to make some money.
I got to stop you there. Commission. I've never heard that. Can I harvest that?
Absolutely.
Commission
I
breath.
probably got that from somebody else.
That is brilliant. Commission breath. Thank you.
But
I'm sorry.
you've seen it. Yes. Somebody calls on you, can just sense their mind's just going, how can I sell them something? How can I sell you something? Instead of truly being sincerely interested in you and trying to figure out what can I do to help solve your problems. If you have a problem, I can fill. So honesty, integrity, doing the right thing, and the values and ethics, I think, shine through. Integrity is a key thing. We did a study a while back and actually found a better study than what we were doing on what mission statements were the top Fortune 500 companies. And the number one term for mission statements or in the value statement was integrity. 57% of companies had integrity as one of their key core values. Well, if that's the case, what are they doing about it? So what excites us
Exactly.
is we can teach people how to sell more effectively, plus reinforce the senior leadership's mission and value of how they want to be perceived in the marketplace.
Excellent. And I believe character always counts, but I believe it counts even more today with all the misinformation. And we live in a world of VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And in
Yes.
this world of VUCA, I think character really counts. Mike, how do you define sales integrity in a time when buyers are more skeptical and better informed than ever?
Well, what you're saying is really right, that buyers today are different in that they are more informed. They can go online and learn about your product, about your company, about you. But how you show up matters. We define selling as identifying needs, filling needs, and creating value for people. So instead of the old show up and throw up, people, if you really can connect with people first, number two, then ask the right high impact questions to find out what their real situation is. Then, if you have a solution, you have a professional obligation to share that solution and hopefully help those people solve their problems. And sales integrity is the most important thing, I think, today, because people, I think that the distrust is higher than ever with customers. They're spammed to death with stuff, trying to give you. I got one yesterday. They wrote a poem about me, trying to get my attention. Never seen that before. Got one this morning that said, "Hey, how about a big barbecue place here in Nashville? How about a $250 gift card to that?" I don't want their product. I want them to connect with me and see if I really have a need before. So people are very skeptical, and you got to break through that. And integrity is the way to do it.
Yeah, and I was down for a couple of the certifications on your coaching and selling program, and a number of incredible things etched into my mind, psyche, and at a cellular level relative to professional sales training. One of the go-tos for me is from integrity. The two things that are required before you start selling that have to be established in a meaningful, thoughtful, authentic, and honest way: trust and rapport. Talk about the importance about establishing meaningful trust and rapport before you go into a sales process or start selling.
Well, I think most people put up a barrier right away. Wait a minute, I don't want anything. I don't need anything. You walk into a store and they ask you what you want. So I'm just looking when you went to the store to actually buy something. So those barriers are high. So if you can find something to connect with that person on. Someone told me once, if you can connect with people personally and professionally first, that makes all the difference. And sales tools today can really help you with LinkedIn and other tools to find out about something that can maybe find a common ground where you can connect with that person. Until they trust you, until they believe you're there for them, they're probably not going to answer your questions in an honest way. Somebody said it's like the customer has a file cabinet of answers, and they've been called on by so many times they can pull out the file cabinet. Okay, this is answer number A, this is answer number B, just roll it off. So, but until you connect with them and cause them to really want to talk to you, probably not going to get answers or the honest answers.
Interesting. Mike, you talked a little bit about sales tools available to sales professionals today, one being LinkedIn. Any others top of mind that are your go-to that you've shared with other sales leaders or sales professionals?
Well, our sales team uses a whole variety, but probably LinkedIn Navigator are the go-tos, along with even Facebook and just Googling somebody.
Yeah.
I called on a CEO of a company one time, and I Googled him, and I found out that, of all things, he was a world-renowned carver of wooden birds. And there were PBS specials about the guy. And lo and behold, knowing that showed that I had enough interest in him that we actually had a conversation. The head of one of the divisions of the American Red Cross told me one time, he said, if people don't have enough time to research a little bit on me, find out about me, if they don't have the professional interest in doing that, I don't have time to talk to them. So I think a lot of people almost expect that today. So sometimes just Googling them, LinkedIn, Facebook, find out what they're interested in. Found out one guy is a wonderful marathon runner, and we talked about that. So you just never know until you spend the time to try to find out about people.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike. Mike, what are the most common obstacles that you see salespeople facing today, and how does the integrity approach help them overcome these?
Probably two answers there, Doug. One is there are certain things that have been challenges forever, and those will always remain challenges. But then there's things that happen more currently. One today, I think it's tougher to get access to people today. You don't have the assistants like you used to have that you could talk to. You don't have necessarily their phone number or those tools to find some of those things. People are spammed more, so they have more resistance. Today, right now, some of the things with the uncertainty in the economy, I think it's caused people to go on pause and say, hey, I don't want to talk to anybody, don't think about it. So again, I think that some of the basics of researching people more, finding out some kind of common ground, talking about their issues, not just your product, but finding out what's going on with them right now. Are they having shipping issues? Are they having trouble with salesperson turnover? Are they having competition? What are they having as far as the issues? You look up what their CEO says about the company. When you can connect it to their problems, then you can solve many of those problems and get more access to people today.
And I know you believe that if you understand their business drivers' problems and you can legitimately solve those problems, you're not catching a falling knife of lower price.
Yes.
You can maintain, a fair price, but it's not a race to the bottom. Mike, you and Integrity have worked with a variety of different organizations all over the world across many industries. What key traits separate consistently top sales performers from average ones?
We've been very blessed because we've worked with folks now in 130 countries. So regardless of industry, regardless of country, language, culture, there are several things that kind of stand out. One is goal clarity. When people have goal clarity and they're firmly fixed on what they want to accomplish, it tends to release the second one I want to mention, that's a high achievement drive. And that high achievement drive gives them the energy to go the extra mile, to make the extra call, to answer that one more objection, to close one more time, because they have a passion to help solve people's problems. Emotional intelligence is really critical. People can have product knowledge and all kinds of understanding of technology and everything else, but still fail in sales. So it's how you interact with people that's critical. Social skills and high emotional intelligence. I'd say those are key things that make the difference regardless of the industry.
Mike, how do you and Integrity help companies instill a culture of coaching and accountability, not just training?
Well, I see too many companies do sales training that may be good. I was talking to one this morning in Switzerland. He said, our managers don't go through our sales training. Well,
Really?
to me, that's crazy. I mean, managers are your leverage point in the organization, especially your frontline managers. So we believe that sales training must be accompanied by coaching training, that the managers go through the same training for sales training. Then they're also taught, how do I actually coach to these skills? How do I model them? How do I support them? How do I coach them? If the managers never talk about it, that sends a strong message to salespeople that it's not that important. Something else is more important. If they never see the managers model what they've been taught to do, they do something opposite. That sends a negative message. So coupling with coaching training of how do you actually apply these ideas to build your people, and not just how to do the skills, but how to coach people to see more in themselves than they're exhibiting now. And it takes a manager seeing often more in people than they see in themselves to paint that picture of what they can be and what they can sell and who they can call on. Because most people, they end up on a plateau. It may be a high plateau. Maybe you're making $1 million a year, but often still on a plateau. And so how can I help them see that they can call on more people, they can sell more, they can serve more people, and instill that fire to do that.
Excellent. Mike, let's talk about buyer behavior. How has it evolved in recent years, and what adjustments should sales professionals and sales teams do in order to accommodate those buyer behavior changes?
Well, we look at a lot of the studies that are happening, and we go to the Gartner conference each year and exhibit and speak there. And every year they talk about that there are more buyers, more people involved in the buying decision than before. And we see different numbers, maybe an average of 8 people or 10 people or whatever, depending on the industry and the product. But it's understanding who is really involved in the decision and who are the users, who are the influencers, who's really making the decision is often something salespeople miss. And they may have been in an industry a long time and they're used to that person making the decision. In healthcare, for example, maybe a surgeon that's making the decision on your medical device. But now they're an employee of the hospital, and it's a procurement department who's making the decision. And they're not just looking at the relationship, they're looking at the data and the studies and the pricing And so you may have to be dealing with different buyers than you are in the past. The second piece is that buyers are doing more research, often product information, competitors, pricing, even maybe online. So you're dealing with that where they may know a lot more before you call on them or before they reach out to you. They may have already had kind of a form of what their decision process is.
Interesting. Mike, with remote work and hybrid sales models becoming the norm, how do you keep integrity, motivation, and consistency intact across distributed teams?
Yeah, that's tough. That is really, especially since the pandemic, more and more people have been working remotely. So I think it's imperative that managers and leaders proactively reach out and spend more time with people virtually and also collectively, whether it's online in group meetings, whether it's pulling them together periodically, physically, but you need to be more in touch. We're finding that it's not uncommon for a top salesperson to be doing well and all of a sudden, bang, they're gone because you're not as connected to them. You may not be realizing there's something going on that I need to address. So I think it's communication is the key thing. Keeping in touch, spending more time with them, even if it's virtually.
Thank you. Mike, you've stressed the importance of mindset in professional selling. What does that really mean, and how can sales leaders cultivate that mindset with their teams?
Well, so I think I mentioned before, mindset we think is a key thing. There's a skill and will, there's a mindset and a skill set. I think Integrity addressed it better than anyone. We did a study a number of years ago, a global study with sales leaders to ask them what's most important. And we talked about mindset issues, achievement drive, product knowledge, selling skills. And it came back across all industries that about 80% of the time leaders said that mindset, high achievement drive was more important than product knowledge or anything else. You can be taught product knowledge and skills, but that mindset is a key thing. So we believe it's important because everybody has a mental paradigm of what they believe. And that may be formed from their childhood, from school, from sports, their parents or coaches, others that have told them they can do something, they can't do something. And that paradigm gets pretty fixed. I see a lot of salespeople that say, well, they may not say it, but they think, I've been averaging my last two jobs. I was averaging sports, averaging schools, subjects, and now I'll probably average here. And they are. Whereas others say, I've been number one in whatever I've done. I'm going to figure out how to be number one. So addressing that is critical. So as managers, am I asking questions to figure out what is it that drives this person? What do they want to make money for? We had a guy who was in the car business years ago. It was Chevrolet. He was a very experienced salesperson, just falling off terribly. He selling like 3 cars a month. And the manager started talking to him. He said, well, I don't need the money anymore. I'm about retired. Then he got to asking him questions, and he found out that his daughter had married someone that they weren't making a lot of money. So he was concerned about his grandsons being able to go to college. But he shifted his shift from money for himself to making money for his grandson. And very soon he went from 3 cars a month to 28 cars a month. So do managers understand what do you want to make money for? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to prove to someone else? We had a guy at a making telephone calls at a teleconference center, and he had just gotten married, and he shared with us that his wife's parents were almost embarrassed that their daughter had married a telephone salesperson instead of a doctor, a lawyer, or somebody more important. Well, that's ridiculous, but his motivation was he was going to prove that he could be the very best telephone salesperson and he'd make a great income to support their daughter. So if managers can tap in, build a relationship where they can figure out those kind of things, that makes a huge difference. And secondly is complimenting them, looking for things that are right, that they're doing well, and painting a picture that they can be selling more, that they can be doing more, that can create more value for people. And that helps expand that mindset and ultimately their results.
Fascinating. So as we dovetail off mindset, you talked a little bit about challenges for sales reps, and the one data point I heard was more decision makers. When you use the example of that surgeon, that he might be ultimately recommending it, using the device, but it's procurement. Are there any other challenges you're seeing for trends for sales professionals in 2025 beyond multiple decision makers?
Yeah, I think there's a lot. Competition, I think, is higher than ever before. You may have some low-cost competitors coming in from other countries. That's a big issue. And you don't want to do the race to the bottom, obviously, with price. Secondly is AI. We've talked a little bit about AI, that there's some fear in some places that salespeople aren't needed. People can just do AI and do prompts online with ChatGPT and learn what they need to. When I go to my physical each year, my doctor does not like salespeople. And he says, I can look up anything, get product information, do chat GPT. And I think that's the mindset of a lot of customers today. So we need to make sure that we're creating value for them. We're not just there sharing information they could get someplace else. We need to be challenging them to think differently. How do they run their business differently? And how our products and services can help them do that.
Excellent. Mike, to your point, it's hyper competitive right now beyond all the other challenges that business people, executives, and sales professionals have. But as you know, when we're working with a client or we're in a competitive bid situation, it's how do you measure an ROI? So the next question is, how do you measure success in a sales training program beyond revenue growth? What are some KPIs beyond revenue growth, or talk about just ROIs for great sales training programs like Integrity Solutions?
Well, it's funny, most sales conversations we have selling sales training, the customer wants to know, how are you going to promise me an ROI? But then they get into it and they're excited and they never measure ROI. So it's incumbent on us to help them think through what can they measure. If you think about two big categories, one is the objective things, and revenue growth is one of those. But it might be other things like closing percentage. It might be an increase in new product sale. It might be number of competitors that they take business away from. It might be market share. We worked with a retail national group years ago that when we get with the Northeast group of their stores, and when we got done, their sales had gone down 10%. They said, boy, that's terrible. But no, they were thrilled because what was happening in the economy right then, the rest of the country was down 30%. So it may be maintaining or stemming the tide of product that may be going away. It may be retention of salespeople. It may be retention of customers. So it may be a number of things that they have data on. They may be using their CRM system more, actually doing more pre-call plans ahead of time. So maybe those types of things. But then it might be subjective things. Do the managers see them having a different attitude? Do they see a stronger sense of teamwork across the group? So it could be things like that make a difference in the overall culture of the organization.
That's excellent. Thank you, Mike. And one topic that not many sales trainers, leaders talk about, burnout. Sales burnout is real.
Yeah.
How do you recommend sales leaders keep morale high while maintaining performance?
Well, that's tough, especially if you get a lot of competition. Maybe you're above everybody else at first, then your product parity, all of a sudden somebody's ahead of you. That's a challenge. You're just tired. The biggest thing we've found is understanding purpose. Why is the person doing what they're doing? Are they excited about the value they create for others? We had an insurance client once that went out and videoed testimonials of their customers who had had death claims or other types of claims and how it had changed their life, and shared those videos with their sales team. It's real easy to get wrapped up with all my problems, with the competition issues, working hard, deals falling through, all the normal stuff we deal with in sales, and lose sight of that end customer they're making a difference for. I had a sales leader one time that kept saying, how are we making that customer's life better? And always be thinking about that and telling stories, bringing customers onto sales meetings, virtually or in person, sharing how their life is different. I think bringing people back to that, how customers are different and how what you're doing, we're going to make your life better, whether you're saving money for retirement or your children or whatever it might be, what you're learning, what you're gaining, how you're growing. Those kind of things aren't perfect and there's no magic wand, but they do make a difference.
Thanks, Mike. So if a sales leader is listening and only has 30 days to turn around their team, what 3 actions would you recommend they take immediately?
Well, number one is back to purpose, is make sure you understand what each person is there for, what they want to accomplish, who they want to be, who they want to prove something for. That's a key thing. Number 2 is look at your existing customers. The quickest way to get business going is looking at existing customers. Are there products we have that can fill some gaps for the customer that we're not exploring? Maybe it's a product I don't believe in as much or that I don't understand as much. I need to get some training on. So maybe looking at existing customers where I can expand business or get referrals from. And number 3 is simply building people up and expressing belief in them. Not just a fake you can do it, but specifics of why they've done it in the past and they can do it again, why they can accomplish it. Even the best athletes in the world need a coach and need someone to believe in them and spur them on. So I think a coach plays a critical part in those three things of understanding their purpose, helping them work their existing accounts better. Number three, expressing their belief in them.
That's great information, Mike. Thank you. Last full-length question, then we get into my favorite part, rapid-fire questions. But our last question, Mike, what's next for Integrity Selling? Are there any innovations, events, or thought leadership projects Integrity and you are working on that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, we've got so many exciting things going on, and we're learning them from our customers. But one of the challenges in sales training over the years has been more people want more technology. So we've had a lot of technology over the last 7-8 years, but we have a process now called Compass that all of our programs are fueled by this technology called Compass that allows customers to have more data on what's happening, ways to actually measure results, see what's happening in the field, reporting on progress and successes, doing videos, ways for people to coach people. So that Compass around integrity selling, integrity coaching is very exciting. Number two is most people think of us as an integrity selling company, and that is our flagship program. But we have a whole suite of solutions, integrity coaching for sales managers, integrity service for service professionals. If you think about a timeline of sales on one end and service on the other, sometimes there are people in the middle, that are they don't think they're salespeople, but they ought to be. So we've got a program called Integrity Selling for Service Professionals. It might be for clinical people in healthcare. It might be for others, maybe in a bank, to support people who don't see themselves as salespeople, but they want to serve people. So we're teaching them ways to better serve people by looking for opportunities to solve problems and sell your products and services. So those are some exciting things that are happening. Last year, we came out with a new book called Listen to Sell, as you mentioned. And that we think is at the cutting edge of dealing with today's challenges, a lot of the technology issues. It covers a lot about mindset, of how do you deal with mindset, whether it's yourself or your sales team. And every chapter, Doug, has a coaching corner. So managers can learn tips. Maybe it's how do you deal with objections more effectively in that chapter. How can you help coach people to get through that? Maybe it's on how to ask better questions with what we call the gap model. How do you coach people to do that? And if it's not your manager, if your manager isn't doing it, you can use it as self-coaching tools and tips. So that's been a real exciting process to come out with these new solutions and ways to help our customers and individuals.
Thank you. Now, my favorite part, rapid fire questions. I'll ask you a question, one word response,
Okay.
Or a short phrase. Are you ready, Mike?
Fire away, Doug.
First thing Mike does to start his day productively.
It actually starts the night before. Make my to-do list the night before.
Excellent. Your favorite business or sales book besides your own?
The Power of One More by Ed Milet.
I love that.
If you're exercising, one more rep, one more pound on the weights, make one more sales call.
One word that best describes your leadership style?
Probably supportive.
What's your go-to energizing song before a big keynote or sales training program?
Eye of the Tiger is kind of the basic one. Yeah, it's a good one.
Excellent. Coffee, tea, or something stronger after a long day?
Probably none of the above. It's a long day. I'd probably just flip on the TV and watch some Andy Griffith or something fun to laugh at.
There you go. Your top productivity hack?
On my to-do list, do the toughest things first.
Sales, more art or more science?
More art.
One common buzzword in sales you'd love to retire?
Pitch. It's like you're doing something to people.
Best compliment you've ever received from a client?
What you just did calling on us, I wish our salespeople would do.
Excellent. Favorite quote or mantra you live by?
Do the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Most inspiring leader or historical figure you admire?
I love historical things, so I'd say Churchill.
Excellent. And last question, Mike. If you could give your younger sales self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Keep going. It's all going to work out.
Excellent. Mike, the 40 minutes or so just flew. It's been a high honor and privilege to have you as a guest on the Best Sellers podcast. Mike, if any of our listeners want to, get a copy of your book, Listen to Sell, how can they do that?
just go to our website, integritysolutions.com. That has all of our solutions. In fact, it's got several hundred free resources there, podcasts, white papers, ebooks. You can also order the book, Listen to Sell on that, or go to Amazon or any bookstores.
Excellent. And that URL for your website again is what?
integritysolutions.com.
integritysolutions.com. Our guest has been Mike Esterday, Vice Chair of Integrity Training Solutions from Nashville, Tennessee. Mike, high honor and privilege. Carpe diem. If you made it all the way here, thank you for listening to the Best Sellers Podcast, your ultimate destination for winning sales strategy. We hope you loved this episode. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on your favorite podcast platform to never miss an episode. See you on the next one.